Okay, Brad, stand by. Shows in 3, 2, 1. Go, Brad.
Last week, the Lions watched the Seattle Seahawks raise the Lombardi Trophy. This week, they introduced their 2 new coordinators. What do 2 of the best writers in town think about them? What do you think about them? Find out next on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. Let's go.
Go.
Well, we didn't burn the place down, so they let us back for a second week. This is the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. I am Brad Galli, joined this week, as I said, the papers paid me to say it, 2 of the best sports writers in town. From the Detroit Free Press, Lions beat writer Dave Birkett.
Look at this site, man. Look at this studio. It's awesome, Brad.
We built it just for
just
you,
for me.
so that
Appreciate
you would like
that.
it. And alongside him from the Detroit News, wearing the exact same shirt. They did call each other
Like
today.
That's right, yeah.
John Niyo, sports columnist over at the News.
The JOA in action here with these 2 fine papers coming
Except,
together like
except,
this.
Pointed
I
out.
did, yeah. You know what? I said I was going to wear jeans, and I didn't wear
Sold
jeans.
me out.
I sold them up.
There's an agenda there, and I
that's
don't like where it's
That's
headed.
Yeah, that's right.
Well,
It's the 50th anniversary of the Beatles, and you got the 2 of us here. That's impressive.
I
Paul
don't know
and
where that
I like
falls.
it.
Yeah. There we go. Well, let's get to sports because that's why you're watching. That's what you're going to do. First of all, interact with us. Use the hashtag 7SportsCave on Twitter. I'm at Brad Galli. He's at Dave Birkett. He's at John Niyo. The tweets are already coming in because people knew they were going to be on the show. Talk to us about the Lions' biggest needs. We're going to get into that, about the offseason. We were all together Friday in Allen Park when the Lions introduced Joe Lombardi and Terrell Austin, their 2 new coordinators. Your 2 biggest takeaways from that day?
I think not just that day, but I think the feedback that I've gotten from people across the league has been positive about both those guys. I mean, Austin is a guy that seems like he's a good motivator. He's going to bring some blitz pressure. He's going to mix things up. I think the Lions need that because they have some talent. Joe Lombardi, a smart guy. When I talked to Drew Brees about him at the Super Bowl, he went on for 2 minutes. That told me volumes the way that he responded. The one question that I have is he wasn't really allowed to pick his staff. Most of these guys were held over or in place before he got here. That worries me a little bit. But overall, I think they're 2 pretty good hires.
Yeah, I agree, and they're younger guys. I think the one question I would have, though, is they made such a big deal about they didn't say it publicly, but we need a head coach with experience who's been there and done that before. And then they hired 2 coordinators who've never done it before. I mean, Terrell Austin's done it for a year at Florida, and Joe, well, he's been with Drew Brees and the Saints for a while. He hasn't. I think Mercyhurst 10 years ago is where his coordinator experience comes from. So, and then I still have questions about who's calling the plays.
Right, I mean,
they
even
still
Lombardi,
haven't
when he
even
was
fessed
asked,
up on that.
you asked him, are you
Yeah.
calling the plays?
He said
And his
he thinks.
response was, he was like, caught with his pants down.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah,
I
no.
think I'm going to do that.
Yeah.
Well,
And, yeah, exactly. And who's going to be up in the box? Who's going to? There's a lot of questions still, but
They got time to sort it out.
But they are young guys who, and Joe Lombardi really does strike you as a bright young guy who's probably waiting for this chance.
They both commanded the room when they were talking to us, and I think that's something Jim Caldwell did as well. You can't buy into a press conference, not with Jim at the top, not with these 2 guys, but that was something that stuck out to me. You bring Caldwell in, who's got the experience. He's old school. He comes in with, quoting every single coach and philosopher that we've ever seen on the earth. And then you've got these 2 with a new school approach, and Lombardi came in and said he's going to run the playbook like the Saints, and Big Joe Fourier tweets out, Big Joe likes that.
Yeah, I think everybody does when you look at what the Saints have done and with Drew Brees and John talked about a little bit. Kind of the focus of this offseason has really been getting Matthew Stafford right. And Lombardi's got that quarterback background. Caldwell's got that quarterback background. If either of those guys can do any 1/10 of what they did with the quarterbacks that they've worked with in the past, Brees and Manning, I think this can be a success.
And he dared to say that Matthew Stafford could use a little work to get better,
right?
Which the last staff really couldn't bring themselves to say, which drove some of us nuts and drove the fans I know nuts, especially this last fall.
But they would constantly say after games, Schwartz would tote out there and say, well, the balls were tipped. He's trying to be aggressive.
Yeah.
He's making decisions.
Quit making excuses for the guy. That's all people have been asking for. And, Scott Linehan, I think he's a good play caller, but I think he's maybe not the kind of guy who's.
People would disagree with
Well,
him.
I agree. I know.
Yeah.
And I've had that fight many times, but he's also not the kind of guy who's going to get in a player's face. And he's certainly not the guy who's going to really, really get on a guy. And Matthew Stafford needed that. He's also not a guy who'd really developed quarterbacks before he came here. I mean, he had Dante Culpepper and, what else has he done in terms of developing quarterbacks in his career? So I think that's the goal here with this guy.
Well, and the one thing about these guys, with Caldwell and Lombardi is even though they've worked with some really good quarterbacks, those quarterbacks were pretty darn good to begin with. So there is some question about how much credit those guys deserve for the work that they've done with quarterbacks. But, I think, look, there's no doubt about it. This team is only going to go as far as Matthew Stafford goes in the next few years, and they've done everything possible this offseason to surround him with the right cast. I think you're going to see that continue as this thing goes on in the draft.
And we haven't even mentioned Jim Bob Cooter.
Jim Bob Cooter.
With a straight face, you can't mention
No,
Jim Bob
I know,
Cooter.
and that's not fair to the guy because I don't know him, and all I know is what I've read about him. I've heard people talk about him in the past. But he is the new quarterbacks coach, which wasn't official until after the press conference Friday, which might not be a coincidence. I don't know. But, no, yeah, he's worked with Peyton Manning, obviously, and he knows Caldwell, and that's the guy they're bringing in to – I think it's overrated, the whole notion of, well, he's got to have a quarterbacks guru, a quarterbacks coach, but
he needs work.
He does need somebody
to work with him, and maybe a change of scenery
day-to-day
is perfectly for what he needs.
I mean, nobody knows who they had before, so.
Very true. The juiciest headlines, the biggest story in town this week was something that a lot of people in town would maybe say wasn't a story at all. With signing day coming and gone, we turn and laugh sometimes. I mean, we covered it throughout the year because people love to know who Michigan, Michigan State, and other Big Ten rivals are going to go after on the high school level. But then Malik McDowell, the top prospect by most around this country and around the state, in the state of Michigan, Southfield defensive end, decides to go to Michigan State against his mother's wishes. Signing day in the drama. I mean, he signed the papers, but it's not done because his mom hasn't signed. So maybe it was a fake signature. So much has gotten into it. How much do you buy in to signing day at all?
You know, covering Michigan and Michigan State, I hated signing day. It was one of those things where, you know, people are asking you about these 22 high school guys who you've never seen play before. And McDowell's a different situation. I mean, he's a top 50 recruit in the country. And you go back and you look at what Rivals 2009, I think it's 13 of the top 14 guys on that list are in the NFL right now, and the 14th guy is going to be a mid-round pick this year. So when you're at the top of that list, there's some stock in that, and I understand why there's so much drama around this situation. Parents are looking out for their son, but man,
I felt bad for just watching, and of course we all tuned into the live stream to watch this signing, or were there in person. He looked. It was supposed to be the happiest day of his life, really. It was like 17 years old.
Tears, and then he cried through the night.
You know, like this, and I felt bad for him because it shouldn't have come to that. But then, who's to blame for that? You can blame the mother, you can blame the father, you can blame him. I don't know. You can blame whoever you want, but that's what it's come to with recruiting, and it's kind of a shame for that.
I don't see it going any other way.
No.
And what's terrible is we cover these high school games on a weekly basis, and we covered games with him, and we went to cover a game of his. I interviewed the coach live. That's what we do every single Friday, unless there's a big-time player. And the schools will give us a player and say, you can talk to him. No big deal. It's high school. It's not that big of a deal. Bring him on there, showcase him, put him in the spotlight. I asked if we could talk to Malik. I said, I'm not going to talk about the recruiting. He had about 4 handlers there that said, no, you can't talk to him. And now it comes out with all this drama. You see why. As a Michigan or Michigan State fan, they take stock in it because, well, we've got big classes. Should they?
Well, they should, because it does matter. Because, like Dave said, I mean, ask Nick Saban in Alabama if recruiting matters. Of course it matters.
And Florida State's class last
Florida
year.
State. But at the same time, Mark D'Antonio has proven here in the last 4 or 5 years that really the 4-star, 5-star recruits aren't necessary to build a winning program that wins year after year. They've done it. And so now actually they're sort of getting a taste of what they've been missing, actually, at least their fan base is, with this last week of drama. But no, I think it matters, obviously, but at the same time, it's not the end of the world.
I was waiting for his mom to abscond with the letter like that running back
last year
from Auburn.
Yeah. And there's a few like that every year.
It happens every year.
And who knows what really is the underlying issue in some of these cases.
Because we've all heard a lot of stories.
I mean, we all have families. We all have, but it became public, and the parents made it a little more public than it needed to be, and that was, I think, my biggest issue.
I will just say this. I understand as a parent wanting the best for your kid and wanting them to maybe get away from certain situations, but you go to any college campus in this country and there's going to be some issues. Ask the reigning Heisman Trophy winner what goes on
no doubt about
down in Florida State. So, look, I think at the end of the day, far be it for me to tell somebody how to raise their kids, but going to college is about becoming a man, making some of these decisions. I think you got to let the kid decide where he wants to go.
Philosophy 101. You need like a drape here.
Like that?
It's about becoming a man. We're throwing cups out here.
Yeah, no.
Good thing there's nothing
Anoint
on
him.
Yes.
His
Like
most
doctorate right there.
Yeah, there's a doctorate.
Keep this on the rest of the show. And except when I put that gold medal on after I beat John.
Okay.
We'll get to all that. The Olympics are here. Speaking of medals, you've covered them before.
Yeah.
no scene, I think, ever in Olympic history than we've seen in just the 3 or 4 days since the opening ceremonies and people have arrived.
I'm not sad that I'm not there. I've usually, I've done 5 of these now, and to be fair, there's problems at every Olympics. I mean, I was in Athens, and it was a disaster going in. Everybody was expecting the worst, and it wasn't as bad as we thought. Beijing was a little different, and for different reasons, similar reasons though to Russia, but this one legitimately does sound like it's kind of a mess. Nothing's ready for the media, which is probably next to the athletes the one constituent you want to take care of, and they weren't ready at all. And people locked indoors can't. Yeah, that's nice.
You like that?
Dunkin' Donuts.
Come with donuts?
It does not. We'll work on that. That'd be nice.
It has been a mess, and this is Putin's Olympics. They spent $51 billion. Probably only spent about $20 million actually on the Olympics.
Yeah.
The rest went to line somebody else's pockets from the sounds of it.
What was your favorite image from Friday?
Well, you know what? I really thought what really struck me was how the rings, the one ring didn't expand.
Yes.
And then yesterday
That
there
guy's
was
in Siberia right now.
Well-
The guy who's responsible for
yesterday
that.
there was the story from one of the satirical websites that said the guy had showed up, was found dead in his hotel room, and it just spread like wildfire across the internet because everybody believed it because it's in Russia, and you thought, maybe, is this real? I mean, my wife found it online or Facebook or somewhere, and she asked me, is this legit? I said, probably, before I really went and read what it was.
No, in
So
London,
it's crazy.
In 2012, London was the first. We called it the Twitter Olympics because it was the first social. And now that's the thing.
Yeah.
Now everything goes viral, and
Speaking of which,
Yeah,
can you guys
right.
take this full on
Yeah,
Twitter here?
yeah.
Can you pick up this image of Putin watching the Olympics? Can we get there?
Uh-oh.
There it is.
Yeah, he looks happy, right?
It seems about right.
Yeah.
The Hunger Games.
Well, we'll move on. We got to get to a few more things. We promised you a big interview in the 7 Sports Cave here every single week. Tom Lydon goes one-on-one with Mike Babcock at 11:30.
Speaking of the Olympics.
Speaking of the Olympics,
there.
nice little
All
tie-in.
right.
And our lady on the street, Megan Brennan, asks all the important questions in the Red Wings locker room, like, should Justin Bieber be deported? Hard-hitting stuff coming up on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. Welcome back inside the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. We are talking Lions. Dave Birkett is here from the Detroit Free Press. John Niyo from the Detroit News. We promised you, as always, your tweets drive the conversation for us. We'd like to introduce to you now the 4th member of our team. In the control room, producer Mike Foss, monitoring social media along with us. Mike, what's the story on Twitter this morning?
Hey guys, well, as always, a lot of people talking about the Lions. Let's get to a couple of the thoughts that people are sharing about the Lions so far. We've got JC checking in. He thinks the Lions shouldn't worry about signing Pettigrew, or as far as cap challenges go, no to signing Pettigrew. And also checking in this morning, Chelsea Hibbler. She's asking if the Lions should keep Burleson for another season. Obviously, free agency always a big part of the offseason. Guys, what do you think?
Your biggest takeaway? I mean, when you look at what they have to do on offense, you said Stafford, they have to help. Those two in particular, where do they go?
Well, with Nate, the Lions, if you look at history, they've last year, for instance, when they've had vets that have been up against it, that they wanted to get rid of Kyle Van Bosch, they've done it the first couple days after the Super Bowl.
Right.
The fact that they didn't with Nate this year leads me to believe that maybe they could bring him back on a reduced salary.
Sorry to Nate over there, but he's
There he is.
probably have to
Naughty
take
Nate.
a little less.
Yeah, he's
little less cash to come back, similar to what.
He's already said he'd do it again.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
similar to what Dom.
Look, the Lions have a lot of cap problems right now, but they have a lot of ways to get under the cap. Burleson, you can cut his salary a little bit. Lewis Thelmus might have to take a little bit less. Pettigrew's a guy that he might get a little bit more on the open market than the Lions are willing to spend, but if they don't do that, they don't have a replacement at tight end, so they need to find someone somewhere.
And I think I kind of agree to an extent. I think they need another tight end though anyway, because they
They
Tony
do.
Shep. I mean, they need.
Yep.
I mean, whether it's one of those guys like Ebron in the first round of the draft, or if it's later, but they need somebody who can stretch the field a little bit from that position as a pass receiver. Because Pettigrew really, I mean, they used Pettigrew more as a blocker and a.
They were
guy last
limited.
year, but they were really limited, and that
Big
safety
time,
valve
especially
was
when
not
he
there.
started to get hurt. It
Yeah.
was almost like, again, they're caught there
Right.
gawking with Big Joe Fourier as the only option. And he's great in the red zone, but you need a blocking tight end.
Joe Lombardi, I mean, when he described his ideal tight end the other day, he described Pettigrew. He said a guy that's a really good blocker at the point of attack, a guy that can be a weapon in the pass game too. You think back, he had 2 70-catch seasons a couple years ago, and he's a really good blocker. So, he's a guy that I think would fit what the Lions want, but like you said,
price
they
might be a
need
little-
somebody.
yeah,
and
yeah.
Right, 70 catches and
He's
about
gonna be one of the
22
top.
drops that come with it every
He's
year.
going to be one of the top free agents,
He will.
free agent tight ends on the market this offseason.
Which
assuming
leaves a lot of
Jimmy
people
Graham goes back.
around this town scratching their heads because he is in so many big moments.
Oh yeah, and I
when
was
he
a big
fails.
apologist for him his first few years because with the drops and everything else, people didn't realize what a value he was for them, whether it was run blocking or whatever. But yeah, I don't know if you're going to break the bank to bring him back in a long-term deal. Though. So
He's about to be 29, so there's got some of that to consider
right.
too.
You mentioned the draft. I know we're 3 months away.
Never
we're
far
15 months away
never
from
too
the
far
next
away.
draft.
I know,
Come on, what are
and
you
people
talking
love
about?
it. And around this town, it's really all we can talk
the
about when
offseason.
things go on. I know people tweet at both of you so much about it, and you guys have looked into it. Maybe not even specifically just names, but position. Where do they go?
Receiver. I mean,
Yeah,
that seems like the easiest one to me.
And people freak out when you say receiver, especially at the number 10 pick. Didn't work out so well the last time. But no, I mean, they absolutely have not. That's one of the few things they have really dropped the ball on, no pun intended, is given Calvin a number 2. I mean, they thought they did with Titus, and they did for a little while, and they haven't.
Ryan
replaced
Broyles the same way.
Yeah, Ryan
Same thing.
Broyles. So they still have to go find one. And free agency, I don't know if you're going to go find a Hakeem Nicks or somebody like that, but they need something, and they probably need 2 receivers, not just one.
Yeah, I think you'll probably get a vet. Maybe, again, probably not a
Right.
Knicks type guy, but
Right.
you'll get a vet that's serviceable, that can contribute in free agency. But then you need a young guy, too, because every year under Martin Mayhew, they've taken a receiver. Going back, Derek Williams, Titus Young, Ryan Broyles, you name it, whatever round, they've tried it, and it hasn't
They've
worked.
combined to catch as many touchdown passes as the 3 of us,
Yeah,
almost.
and people don't want to hear this, but Kelvin Johnson.
Which catch?
Yeah, there you go.
Look at
Oh,
those
that was
hands.
off camera.
Look
That's
at
all
those
right.
hands? Yeah. How about
Try
you?
it
There we
again.
go.
There we go.
But no, look, Kelvin Johnson's getting up there too. I mean, look,
And he's getting beat up.
He
getting
is
beat
big
up.
time. Look at the last 2 seasons. Keep the tweets coming. We've got these guys on the couch here. We're going to get to social media throughout the show. Use the hashtag 7SportsCave to ask them questions, bring up points, things that are eating at you. We're getting stuff about Spartan basketball. Yes, we do know they are playing today. We also know Michigan lost. We'll get to all that in a little bit. But as we previewed you just before the break, Megan Brennan is part of our digital team here at WXYZ.com. Before the Red Wings left for the break, she went in the locker room to get the important answers to questions like, should Justin Bieber be deported, and how good can Justin Abdelkader sing? Check it out.
Who has the most Twitter followers on the team?
I'm gonna say Pavel Datsyuk.
I guess say Pav.
He does. Do you know how many he has?
70,000 maybe?
I don't know, 90,000, 100,000.
151. How many do you have?
I think I have 25,000.
I think I have around 40,000.
You have some work to do, buddy.
Yeah, I got a lot of work to do.
I asked my Twitter followers, who's the most handsome Red Wing? What did they say?
Oh, definitely Big E, Jonathan Erickson.
Who is the most handsome? We'll say Brendan Smith.
Eves was the winner.
Patrick Eves. Hey, Patty. Good job, buddy. Most handsome on the team.
He looked impressed. In 3rd grade, I was a Red Wing player for Halloween. Who was I?
Steve Eiserman.
Steve Eiserman.
I was.
Really?
Yes, good guess. I even went to school with the rollerblades, the stick, everything. Miley or Madonna?
Madonna.
Madonna.
Deport Justin Bieber or let him stay in the U.S.?
Deported.
I'm not a huge Bieber fan.
He's gotten too much trouble. He needs to go back to Canada and kind of settle down and chill out.
It seems like he's just here causing a ruckus. Get him out.
How's your singing voice?
It's okay.
On the banks of the Red,
Cedar.
there's a school that
Known to all.
its specialty is,
Winning.
and those,
Spartans play good hockey.
are those all yours?
Oh, yeah.
All of them?
They're all real, yeah.
None of them pop out?
No.
Knock on wood.
I've attempted yoga. It's not the prettiest.
Show me your best warrior pose. Come on, I'll do it with you.
Warrior?
Come on.
Is that the one in front?
Yeah, come on, one foot forward.
All right, 1 foot.
Good, back. Now get your back foot parallel. All right, lean into it, and now arms out.
Oh, arms out.
Yeah, arms out. There you go. See, he looks like he knows what he's doing, doesn't he?
Well done, Megan. We will not be doing yoga in the studio.
Thank
Or
you.
singing.
Yeah,
Or
we're singing.
singing.
Yeah.
Justin Bieber, keep him or get him out of here.
Well, I think it's funny that Abdelkader, the American, sends him
Get
back
him
to
outta
Canada. I
here.
agree, but I'm a United States citizen. So.
Hey man, what would we have on TMZ without Justin Bieber? I say
we
keep
would
him.
not have a news
Keep him
cycle.
around.
When we come back, we will be getting into our Fast Five segment. These guys are going to head on all the topics you're talking about, that we're talking about. Let's make our way over to the bar, fellas. All right, because that is where we are going next. Fast Five on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. Next, stay tuned. We are back inside the cave, drinking. What do you got in there?
Water.
Yeah.
No coffee from
Red
you.
water here. Come on, we need to fix that.
Bubble gum. We got some bubble gum
We
down
do
here.
have bubble
What's in the
gum.
fridge over there?
Don't ask.
Okay.
Don't ask what's in the fridge.
Kind of scary.
You'll find out later. The Fast 5 Minutes is a segment we introduced to you last week. 5 topics for these guys to go head-to-head. I'll sit back and introduce them. They'll go at it for 30 seconds. The buzzer will sound. You got to stop talking. When that buzzer sounds, you're done.
Where's the referee?
You got it. Yeah, right?
It's taking a break. You know what? Here. How about an ode to Emmanuel Stewart? I'll be the Kronk boxing judge.
And wave the flag.
I'll wave the flag,
the
too.
flag
You're
when
just
we're
turning me
done.
into a caricature here. The first topic, of course, when we go into things here on the Fast 5 Minutes, Tigers spring training. I'm heading down there this week.
Look at you.
Uh-huh. I'll be,
Send us a postcard, will you?
yeah, I can put on the red
Sunback.
shorts when I get down there. The biggest storyline going into training for them.
Well, you could say the new manager, but that'd be a cop-out. I think Nick Castellanos at third base, can the guy hit? Is he going to, he's 21 or whatever he is, and everything has been moved around, shuffled, all the deck chairs there. They haven't really answered very many questions this offseason. They've probably created more questions than answers, and he's probably the biggest one to me is, can he hit? Is he going to be the real deal?
And a lot of people have been counting on him to step in for so many years.
Mickey's moving to first.
Put him in the lineup.
Right.
Put him in the lineup.
Yeah.
Rely on him. And here he is. Here's his shot.
He's the only prospect they have. I mean, the only top prospect they've had here for the last
Well, you know what? I don't think it's a cop-out. I think it really is
it's a cop-out.
No, it's not a cop-out. It really is the story.
This should be a red
Jim Leland.
flag.
Look, I like that they hired Brad Ausmus. I like that they kind of went off the board, went with the young guy. They didn't need to have an experienced guy to do this. I think that was a good hire. But Leland is a guy that he was probably underappreciated in this town when all is said and done. He took this team to two World Series. Brad Ausmus has some pretty big shoes to fill.
Interesting. Goes with the cop-out answer. I might have to go with John there. We're going to switch hats here for this one. Wow. Big Ten hoops. Michigan did not look good last night. We're splitting the table here with Michigan, Michigan State. They didn't look good. Michigan State's been battling injuries. So has Michigan. They're easily the top 2 teams in the Big Ten. But the rest of the conference, how deep is it? Is it a bunch of great teams? Is it a bunch of mediocre teams when you look at the country? What's the Big Ten story this year?
I think it's average, maybe a little bit above average. I mean, when you look at it, they'll probably get 6 teams in the tournament at the end of the day. Indiana, Minnesota, I think those teams are kind of the bubble teams that you'll find out at the end if they're legit or not. But I don't know if there's a team that's going to contend for the championship when all is said and done. Michigan State's probably the best bet, but the injuries that they've had this year, Keith Appling now out for a little bit of time, I just, at the end of the day, it doesn't look like it's going to be their year. If Mitch McGarry was healthy, maybe you could give Michigan a shot. If Michigan State was healthy, maybe they'd have a shot. I don't think their top teams compare it.
His byline says Lions beat writer, but this guy knows his college basketball, John.
He's a hoopshead. No, I agree. It's not as good as last year. It was, last year we had 8 teams that were, in that upper echelon maybe, and this year maybe 5 teams right now are NCAA tournament teams, probably 6 and maybe even 7 in the end. But yeah, no, the top teams aren't as good, and maybe the worst teams in the league are a little bit better, but that doesn't mean it's a better conference.
Speaking of the upper echelon, it's been a while. Don't challenge us on our paraphernalia here. We can reference everything.
Is he available?
This is Ben Wallace in his old All-Star jersey. This version of him is not available. I think he still wants to play hoops.
Yeah.
With the Pistons coming up, the trade deadline is looming. If they have to make one move, if I say they can only make one move, or at least the first move, what's that move have to be?
Well, they got to find a shooter. That would be the first move.
Josh Smith has no problem taking shots.
Yeah, that's probably a shooter who can make the shots. How about that?
Answer.
Because they really don't. That's the problem. I mean, you could say the move they need to make, and I've been saying this for a while, is I think they do need to trade Greg Monroe rather than invest a huge, long-term deal in him. I don't know that they're going to find anywhere close to the value they need. Gordon Hayward's out there aren't going to come in a package for Greg Monroe, but maybe it sounds silly. Maybe they need to go get Aaron Aflalo. Have we, somebody who can shoot? He's going to be because that's what they need. They don't have anybody who can force other teams' hands from long range.
My hat's off to you on that answer. I agree with that.
But no, I think
and
Aflalo's a guy that could be had. Obviously, has some history, having a pretty good season. But I don't know if there's a move out there for the Pistons to make right now. I agree they need to make one, but at the end of the day, they're in kind of a tricky situation. You want to make the playoffs. You got a GM who's on the hot seat, but if they, they're probably going to lose their pick this year. They're not going to have a first round pick, so you don't have a lot of things to deal. So I don't know what you can do.
I think he wants to tank.
He wants to tank.
Which I don't disagree with.
I do not either. I think that's probably the best way to go with them, and the Pistons are doing their best to do there and get there. With the dunk contest coming up, on All-Star Weekend. It's something we used to all get so excited about.
Yeah,
especially with Michael Jordan getting in there. I mean, Dominique Wilkins. I mean, the biggest players in the NBA would get out there for this dunk contest and create iconic moments.
Even the little ones. Spud Webb, remember him?
Trivia, who won last year?
You know, if I didn't do some show prep, I wouldn't know the answer. And I can't even think of his name off the top of my head.
Toronto.
Terrence Ross.
Yeah,
Ross.
there you go.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
He's pretty good,
That's
too,
where it's
but I
gotten.
didn't watch.
But here's the last one for you here. Has it gotten to the point where it doesn't matter? Because I'll counter with this. You look at the list of people in it this year. Paul George, John Wall, Damian Lillard. Decent all-star players that are participating, but they're not going to move the needle a ton. Yeah. Doesn't matter anymore.
Well, I think it's good that they got George, they got Lillard, they got some star power back, but no, it doesn't matter. Look, the dunk contest is just a show. And truthfully, the best dunks are the ones where people are getting posterized, and that doesn't happen in the dunk contest. So you can do all the glow-in-the-dark dunks and all the jumping over cars that you want, but I just think it's all, at the end of the day, it's something that nobody cares about.
You just want to see people abused.
I
and
do.
Be posterized.
Those are
what a terrible guy.
Or the little guys that can get up and do it, and Nate Robinson.
But that's when I started tuning it out, when Nate Robinson won like 3 years in a row or whatever.
With about 16 different teams.
Yeah, you know, all the dunks have been done before. We all know that. So unless you're going to get LeBron and some of those guys in there, the people that, you know, the guys that people really want to see, yeah, it's going to be an afterthought. And I want let's do Macker style NBA All-Star game. Just 3-on-3. 3-on-3. Just pick your own teams. That's what would get me to
LeBron and 2 lunch ladies. Bring it on. Wow. Take them on. All right, last one for you. Aside from everyone at the Olympics, just kidding. Who had the best week in sports? Because my personal nominee, Mark D'Antonio. With signing days, we talked about the 1-month anniversary of the Rose Bowl, and oh, by the way, gets to hang out with President Obama. That's who had the best week in sports.
That's not bad. I think Dominic Raiola is my vote, though. I mean, look, that's a guy that he had probably the best season of his career last year. He's played at age 34. He's 35 years old right now. He wants to retire a Lion. He wanted another year or two. The Lions stepped up, gave him a contract. He got a little bit of a pay raise. He's going to get what he wants in another season. And so Lions got one free agent move out of the way. I think Dominic Raiola had a pretty good week.
Hey, this isn't local. Pete Carroll had the best week of anybody.
Yeah.
He just won
last Sunday.
He just won the Super Bowl. He spent the whole week
man.
partying with Macklemore and his billionaire owner, who's now going to give him, what, $500 million for his next deal? I mean, he's up for a contract extension. That guy had the best week of anybody. And he's got a young team. He might be back in the next
And he did get a Gatorade shower that he was so
Sunday.
ready for. Listen,
you
wanted the medal.
Partying all week.
Right,
Dave wanted the medal for winning. But I don't know. You went with Brad Osmus in the cop-out answer. So let's try this out here on John. Our first gold medal ever awarded on the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. And coming up after the break,
maybe next
Tom Lydon goes one-on-one with Canadian head coach Mike Babcock.
Silver medal over there.
So we don't have, you get nothing and like it. But first,
exit stage right.
Our friends at State Champs provide us with the high school play of the week. Twitter was on fire with this all week. Trenton and Heartland 1 versus 4 in Division II. Josh Ruthig picks up the loose puck, goes in on Nick Ramirez. Whoop, whoop. And he keeps it out of the net. Take another look. 1 save, 2 save, no goal for you. Trenton, best hockey team in the state. That's our high school play of the week from State Champs.
Trenton's hockey town, man. They're really good.
The Red Wings plane has landed in Sochi with 10 players, Ken Holland and Mike Babcock. Our Tom Lydon talked one-on-one with the Canadian and Red Wings head coach about the full plate he's had throughout this entire year.
Well, this is a man who's wearing many different hats this regular season, and obviously with this Olympic tournament straight ahead. A couple questions. First, based on the Red Wings, what have you learned about your team that's going to be maybe the most important thing that they need to carry forward in the second half of the regular season, and you as a coach need to carry forward?
Well, I think the big thing for us is we've really been excited about our young guys that we've called up. They've made us a better hockey club. You know, the line of Tatar and Yurko and Sheehan has been a line that's played in the offensive zone and made us quicker and faster. Glenn Denning is a relentless type player who brings it every night. Tatar and Nyquist were good for us last year, but have taken it to another level, and that in the end makes you a better organization. The injuries have been a positive thing, I believe, for our organization, just because we know what we have, and so that allows you to make good decisions at the trade deadline and good decisions in July. So all in all, things are real positive for us. You know, we're right now in a playoff position. We'd like to maintain that. We're going to have to battle, and ideally we'll get healthy. But in the meantime, we've sure grown some players.
You know, in the years you've been here, it's been so different because you inherited such a veteran-laden team, and now it's a completely different script. And I feel as though last year's playoffs and the drive to last year's playoffs was the first time we really saw a lot of young guys take a step up and do a lot for this team. How might that have helped set the stage for what we might see this year?
Well, obviously, I think those things are important, but, you know, each year you get a different team, and you got to find a way to make that group win. And obviously, since '09, we haven't been the same type of firepower as a team, and so we're trying to rebuild our club on the fly. There's lots of organizations that have rebuilt their team, but it's 10 years of draft picks. We're not interested in that. We'd like to rebuild it on the fly and continue to get better. I think the positive thing about the group we have now is how young they are, and also they're going in the right direction. And you know, we need Pav back. Let's not kid ourselves. We need Mule back. Those are key players for us. But the guys we've grown here through the organization, through good drafting, through time, and the job Blash has done in the minors have made us a better organization.
You face the pressure. You know what a guy like Pavel's dealing with, given the fact that these games are in Russia. Can you give us maybe a perspective of what you experienced 4 years ago and what you know he must be experiencing now?
Well, he's not going to experience it until he lands, and when he lands, it's going to be overwhelming, I can tell you that. You know, I'm a Canadian, obviously, and coaching the NHL, and was the Olympic coach last time around, but I didn't really know I was the Olympic coach till we landed in Vancouver. As much as you prepared and did all those things, when you land there and you see all those people and they're rabid about it. It's all they want. And Russia's no different. They want to win hockey gold. And so there's pressure, but pressure to me simply means you have a chance. If you go there and your team's no good, there's no expectation, there's no pressure. And so I believe there's lots of good teams in the tournament that can win the tournament. You have to get better each and every day at the tournament if you're going to have success in the end. And the greatest collection of players doesn't win. The best team does. And so you have to grow that while you're there.
What do you think about the different ice surfaces? Back in Vancouver, you played on an NHL rink. This is going to be a little wider. How might that help your team, and who might it help outside of the Canadian team, you think?
Well, I think anybody who's played their whole life over there knows for sure. The neutral zone, because it's bigger, is always a thing to talk about, maybe on the penalty kill. But we're going to continue to do what we do, and then we've hired Ralph Kruger, who spent basically a lifetime in Europe coaching, so that we weren't guessing on how we should play on the big ice. And I think that's going to be, just like I said, everyone's going to be a work in progress. You got to get better. Is it going to affect the tournament? No question about it. But that's part of growing your team.
You have two goalies who are both going to Sochi, who are not expected to necessarily get a lot of game time. What do you expect? How might it help both Jonas and Jimmy to be in that situation, facing the best in the world, even if it's in a practice scenario?
Well, I think it's outstanding for them. Anytime you get chosen to be an Olympian, number one, you should be proud. And no one gave it to you. You had to earn it. And you're obviously one of the best in the world. I think when you're around the best in the world, you watch how they prepare, you watch how they compete, and you get information from that, and you learn about yourself. So you're reinforced in some ways, and you're saying, hey, I could do some things a little bit better. And that, to me, what this Olympic experience is about for all of us. If you're not getting better in your profession, someone else is going to have your job, and that's the Olympics, I think, really help you that.
All right, last one is, how do you avoid rooting for your own guys when you're over there coaching the Canadian team, and you know guys, 10 of them are going to be on the ice against you?
Well, I'm going to root for all of them, just not when they're playing us. You know, I mean, I'm proud of these guys, and I want them to do really well. I want Canada to win the gold, and they want their countries to win the gold. I think a healthy competition never hurt anybody. I'm excited about the opportunity of being an Olympic athlete. Being an Olympian is a dream come true. You know, representing your country is a special thing. That should be a lot of fun.
Good stuff. Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Mike. Who wins gold over there in hockey this year?
Those guys, Canada.
Canada's winning it?
The best staff, probably the best talent, too.
Talk about Brad Osmus as an answer. That's an easy one. I'm going to go with
that
Russia.
is cop-out. We might have to remove the medal.
Right.
No, actually not. We're going to leave it with you.
Wow. Russia, you think Putin's going to let his hometown, his home country
find a way.
Fixes in?
He'll find a way.
I got Russia.
Well, a cool story on Team USA and one of Detroit's own helping out one of the Red Wings' own, Jimmy Howard, and the man behind the mask. David Solano shares that story when the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave returns. The puck will soon drop as the Red Wings have arrived in Sochi. All 10 players, Mike Babcock, Ken Holland, and some really cool headgear are in Russia. Jimmy Howard's Team USA mask is a thing of beauty, and it was designed right here in Michigan. David Solano introduces us to artist Ray Bishop.
Olympic ice hockey means it's time to break out the patriotic masks worn by goalies. The Wings' Jimmy Howard is arriving to Sochi in style with a mask filled with stars and stripes.
I just wanted to do something simple and something that, just stood out.
And he just basically said, yeah, I want to do something with a Stars and Stripes theme, Stars and Stripes design.
Ray Bishop is the man behind the mask. The airbrush artist designed this for Howard at his shop in Grand Blanc.
I said, all right, so you're pretty open, and he said, yeah. He goes, can you just do me up a couple sketches? So that's what I did.
He's done pretty much every single one of my masks since I've gone with the Wings, so I sort of trust him in that aspect.
A lot of time spent in the mask. It's very easy to get 40 to 60 plus hours into a helmet design. A lot of details, and there's a lot of steps and stages in between there.
Ray does a great job with the, painting my mask. He also did Ryan Miller's as well for the Olympics, so I think it's really special for him as well.
Bishop relishes being able to support Team USA by creating this mask for Howard.
And that's a big deal to me as well. You hear so much about things going out of the country to be done, and here I am, Howard's mask company here in the United States as well. Howie's a U.S. guy. It's USA.
The mask is actually through the Vaughn company, Lake Orion, and actually manufactured out east in Boston, I believe. So it's an all-American made mask.
As for Howard, he knows there is no finer moment than being able to represent his country at the Winter Olympics.
As a hockey player, I think the Stanley Cup is, the pinnacle for us, but at the same time, being an athlete, this is the biggest stage, for us.
In Grand Blanc, David Solano for the 7 Sports Cave.
Cool little partnership there.
Yeah, Ray's been doing that for a while too. You know what's silly though? The IOC has this ban on propaganda, so they wanted "We the People" on the back of that mask, and they nixed it. Yeah.
No good. Quick question: when's Valentine's Day?
Next week.
Next week.
Friday.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
I'm a lover. I know
Oh,
stuff. Come on.
not a hater. Well, our man Jeremy Johnson, who loves the people, after the break, find some sports fans to see if they know the answer to when Valentine's Day is. The answers probably won't surprise you. That's next on The Cave. Last week you got to meet Jeremy Johnson, the man of the people, went onto the streets to find out how much everyone really knows about the Super Bowl. That was last week. This week he's back with Valentine's Day coming up this Friday. He found some scrambling gift givers. Here is Jeremy with the people.
All right, thanks a lot. Well, it's February, and that means Valentine's Day is right around the corner. I know, guys, I know. Get your wallets out, right? So in honor of Valentine's Day, we came to 12 Oaks Mall to see how much the fellas really know about Valentine's Day. Let's go. Can you tell me what day is Valentine's Day this year?
The date is the 22nd.
I don't know. It's Sunday.
Oh, my Lord. That's a bad thing that I don't know. Is it? Oh, it's next week. I know that for sure.
Are you? Okay, you got a girlfriend? Yeah. Okay, can you tell me your girlfriend's middle name? If you would, please, write down how long you've been married. Show it to each other. Show it to the camera.
I got that one wrong.
15 years. Oh, my God. 15. And she put 13.
Seems like 20.
You came over to meet my parents. That was our first date.
Yeah. Your dog beat on my coat.
Where did you first meet? Where did you first meet? Where did you first meet? Ooh. Turn towards the camera. In jail. What? Give me your best pickup line.
It would have to be, baby, are your legs tired? Because you've been running through my mind all day.
Is that a sparkle in your eye? Because I think it's shining outside.
Oh, give me your best pickup line.
I'm married, man.
Oh, man. I know. Hey, just because you're on a diet doesn't mean you can't look at the menu, huh? If I could rearrange the alphabet, I'd put you and I together. Come on. That's classic. What pickup line did you use to get Harmony over here?
Hey there, sweet thing. Can I buy you a fish sandwich?
If that doesn't get him, I don't know what will.
In Novi, Jeremy Johnson, 7 Sports Cave.
Just as an FYI, both of those people were working in the jail when they met.
There's so many questions that brings up there.
Let's head back to social media. Let's hit up Twitter and find out what people are talking about. We need a software update. We'll get to that in a minute, but let's find Mike Foss, who's back in the control room, our producer manning everything. And Mike, we've got some calls. Fix the software, dude. That's on you.
Hey, I'm not taking responsibility for that. But what we did do was we invited you to call up the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave fan line and leave us your thoughts on our voicemail about what's on your mind. We decided we'd play some of the top calls this week. So we're going to start off with Marcus from Roseville. He's got a bit of an issue with our set decor.
You guys have an awesome show, but you need to take that Verlander head off the wall. Come on. That's too much.
All right. We aim to please. That's fine. You guys got the camera ready? Let's get that thing out of here. No more Verlander big head. I'm moving out to go get this thing out of here. JV, take a break, bud.
Kate is not going to be happy with you.
Kate will not be happy. No. That guy, man, what a week he's got going on.
Can we put a Kate?
Yeah, right.
That's something. Hey, if anyone's got a Kate Upton big head or fat head or anything Kate Upton, we'll put it up in here.
There you go.
Together. Mike, what else are people
let's move
saying
on. We got Javier from Romulus showing some hometown pride this week.
Oh.
Can you please talk about my high school, Romulus Eagles? They are doing really good this year, and I just wanted you to shout them out.
Okay.
Shout out to Romulus.
Shout out to Romulus.
Right there.
Pretty simple.
Perhaps our favorite call this week, we got Mike from Commerce Township. He had quite a bit on his mind. Take a listen.
I'd like to complain about the fans of Detroit on every player. They blame Matthew Stafford for the Lions not making the playoffs, but who missed 3 passes that would have put them in the playoffs? Calvin Johnson once against Tampa and 2 passes against Baltimore. And they pick on Prince Fielder and drive him out of town, and they're going to miss the 100 runs batted in. They're just plain stupid.
The fans are stupid, Dave?
I think that guy emailed me at least 100 times during the season.
I think that's endemic to everywhere. You know, every city has. It's tough being an athlete everywhere. Detroit is no different.
Calvin Johnson's to blame, apparently. Yeah. Well, Mike, thanks as always, bud. In the control room there, get the software fixed, dude. We need to get that better.
I'll work on it.
Okay, good. Because every week we do want to hear from you on the 7 Sports Cave fan line. Call in, rant about whatever's eating at you. If it's good, you'll be a part of the show just like that, even if it's not good. If you just want to shout out, talk to us. We'll be here with you. Romulus, it's your week. Just call in.
You get Romulus somewhere up on the wall now.
Yeah, send us your gear. sports@WXYZ.com. There's the fan cave number, 248-827-4977.
Galli's got too much Brother Rice going on right here. We're going to get some Bishop Foley in here.
He went to Bishop Foley. He wants other stuff in here. Final thoughts from the 3 of us after the break. This is the Suburban Ford 7 Sports Cave. This is the part of the show where we give our final thoughts on things that have been a big topic of debate in town, things that we want to talk about. You guys have the floor after hearing from the people. Dave, you're up first. What's on your mind?
Well, it's not a big topic of debate, but I'm going to start you guys off with 4 magical words. Pitchers and catchers report. That's this week for the Tigers and just about everybody else in Major League Baseball. And to me, it's magical for 2 reasons. One, it's the start of spring, and you guys know we all need a little bit of dose of that around here. The reason I was late for show prep today was because I had to drive through that stuff, and I got
late.
Yeah, right. I know. I got 6 feet of snowdrifts piled up on either end of my driveway. But number 2 is because the Tigers have the best chance of bringing this city a championship. I don't agree with everything they did this offseason. I think they need to get another bat, to protect Cabrera. Verlander's a little bit of a worry with the surgery that he's had. With Kate Upton, who knows what's going to go on with that? We need to keep that thing straight. But really, this team has what it takes to contend for another pennant. And you think about it, 1984, I can remember my parents took me to the World Series Game 4 against the Padres. I think we had 3 tickets. They snuck my little brother in. He was sitting on their lap. 30 years later, I think it'd be great symmetry if the Tigers got back and had a chance to do it again.
Proclaiming it. Dave Burkett.
You going to sneak somebody in there this time?
Well, we do it with my daughter.
Yeah. He's a big-time writer now.
That's right.
John Niyo, your thoughts, sir.
Wednesday was National Signing Day, as we talked about. It's a day for fax machines to prove they're still useful again, and entire fan bases to get involved in family feuds, as we also talked about. But you know what else it is? It's also the day before moving day. I understand coaches and the frustrations they have dealing with the whims of 18-year-old kids and guardians who sometimes act like 8-year-olds. But players, when they sign a national letter of intent, they're bound by that. They're signing a binding contract. The coaches, you'll notice, isn't it funny how they all start to find new jobs as soon as signing day is over and they head to different jobs around the country? The players get crucified for that. The coaches do not. And I think maybe what we need to do is have 2 signing days, one for the grown-ups and one for the kids.
Interesting points, no doubt about it. I think a lot of people would agree with you. Well, we interact with so many people on a weekly basis with Twitter. One of our big fans in particular that loves sports that we talk to all the time got some troubling news this past week. He interacted with us just last week. His fiance was an intern here at Channel 7. So Michael Rea, we know when you went Monday for your routine checkup, you didn't expect to hear what you had. Michael is a big fan of Channel 7, of sports in town, and he found out he has rare cancer and a tumor in his leg. So from all of us, my final thought is the thought that popped into my head first today. My prayers and our thoughts go out to you, Michael, because even with chemotherapy and everything this week, we still saw the tweets that were coming in. So, buddy, we are thinking of you. Michael, we got your back, bud. Well, that is the 7 Sports Cave. Another fun one here with these guys. Dave, John, thank you so much.
Yeah.
John's back next week. I'm off to spring training. Tom Lydon is in here with Stoney and John.
Stoney. Right.
Should be fun. Suburban Ford, 7 Sports Cave. Send us your stuff. There's still so much room. Thanks for watching. See you later, everybody.